What happens when a Hollywood superstar suddenly loses his cool on live television? Make sure to subscribe to the Echo Scoop and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The lights of Good Morning America are bright, the camera's rolling, and the audience is buzzing with anticipation. George Stephanopoulos sits poised, papers in hand, wearing his usual calm smile. Welcome back, everyone. We're thrilled to have a very special guest today, Mark Wahlberg, star of the upcoming thriller Edge of Shadows. Mark, welcome. Mark strides confidently toward the chair, nods politely to George, and sits. The applause is warm but reserved. There's already a hint of tension in the room. He settles in, adjusting his jacket, scanning the set as if calculating the atmosphere. George begins with the standard warm-up questions. Mark, this new role is one of the most intense in your career. How did you prepare for it? Mark leans forward slightly, hands clasped. It's all about the character's mindset. You have to immerse yourself in the emotions, the challenges, the conflicts. It takes focus and a lot of energy. George nods, glancing at the camera. Absolutely. And your journey in Hollywood. People have followed your career for decades. Can you share how the industry shaped you, both personally and professionally? Mark shifts, a slight edge creeping into his tone. Well, George, it's challenging because a lot of people oversimplify. They see the fame, the roles, the awards, but they don't see the grind, the failures, the constant scrutiny. Sometimes the questions you get, well, they don't always reflect reality. George raises an eyebrow. Are you referring to certain media coverage of your past or some controversies? Yes, Mark says firmly. People judge before knowing the facts. That's frustrating. You work hard, you try to be professional, and yet every misstep, even minor, gets blown up. There's a quiet murmur from the audience. Some nod, others whisper to neighbors. George smiles tightly, trying to maintain composure. I understand, Mark, but part of being in the public eye is addressing these questions. Transparency is important. Mark leans back, crossing his arms. Transparency is fine, but there's a line. I'm happy to discuss my work, my movies. I'm not here to rehash headlines or speculate about my personal life. George leans in measured. All right, but some of our viewers are curious. There have been rumors about on-set conflicts and other challenges. Can you give us your side? Mark's tone sharpens. George, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Focus on the craft, focus on the movie. That's what matters. The rest is noise. People love drama. I didn't come here to entertain gossip. A low murmur runs through the audience. Soft gasps, whispers, heads turning. George clears his throat, glancing at his co-hosts off camera. Mark, I hear you, but some questions are relevant to understanding your journey and this role. Fans want the full story. Mark leans forward, voice firm but controlled. And I'm telling you, the story is this, the movie. My preparation, my performance, the effort that goes into it. Everything else, speculation, headlines, rumors, that's for someone else. George straightens, taking a deep breath. Fair enough. Let's pivot to the movie itself. You've mentioned this role pushed you emotionally. Can you explain what that process was like? Mark nods, a slight smile forming. It was intense. Every scene demanded focus. Every emotion had to feel real. There's no shortcut. You have to really live the character's experiences to bring authenticity to the screen. Audience members clap lightly, some nodding in agreement. George presses on cautiously. And working with your co-stars, how did that dynamic affect the performance? Mark relaxes a bit, hands resting on his knees. They challenged me, which I love. On set, respect and energy are everything. We pushed each other to bring out the best. That's what makes the film what it is, not what people say about us online. George smiles, still diplomatic. It's clear your passion for the work is evident. But some interviews have been tense in the past. Is there a reason you respond strongly at times? Mark leans back, expression serious. Because some questions are designed to provoke, not inform. I'm done playing that game. I'm here to talk about the movie, the work, the process. Not to fuel controversy. The audience shifts, some clapping softly, some whispering. The tension is noticeable. What began as a promotional interview is edging toward confrontation. George takes a measured tone. I understand, Mark. So what should viewers take away from today's conversation? Mark leans forward, voice firm. Focus on the work, the craft, the story. That's what matters. Everything else is distraction. George nods, the corners of his mouth tight. All right, Mark. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll dive deeper into the behind-the-scenes of Edge of Shadows. The cameras cut to a commercial. The audience claps politely, some exchanging murmured reactions. Mark exhales, a mix of relief and lingering frustration on his face. Crew members hustle to reset the set, but the energy in the room is unmistakable. The tension is real, and it's the kind of on-air moment people will be talking about for days. The cameras come back from commercial, and the audience settles with a low buzz. George Stephanopoulos greets Mark with a polite nod. Welcome back, Mark. Let's talk a little more about the challenges on set. You've been candid about the pressure. Did anything happen during filming that really tested you? Mark leans back, crossing his arms, a faint edge in his voice. Tested me? Sure. Filming is tough. Long hours, high expectations. You're constantly under a microscope. But that's part of the job. You adapt or you fall behind. George leans forward. I've also heard there were some disagreements with co-stars during production. Can you elaborate on that? Mark's eyes flash. Disagreements happen on any set. People are passionate. That's part of collaboration. But I've read headlines that make it sound like a war zone. That's not the reality. George nods, trying to maintain composure. I understand, but some viewers might feel like they're missing details. Did any of these conflicts affect your performance? Mark's tone sharpens, and the audience leans in. Look, George, I don't go on air to feed rumors. Performance isn't affected by gossip. It's affected by preparation, professionalism, and focus. End of story. There's a ripple through the audience, some murmuring, a few audible gasps. George takes a deep breath. I hear you. But when you've been in the spotlight as long as you have, people are curious. Some of our viewers might feel frustrated not getting a straight answer. Mark leans forward, intensity rising. I'm giving you the straight answer. The straight answer is, don't focus on gossip. Focus on the work. That's what matters. And honestly, questions phrased to provoke reactions? I'm not here for that. I'm here for the movie. The audience reacts with audible murmurs. A host off-camera whispers to George, who glances toward them but doesn't break his composure. Fair enough, Mark. Let's try a different angle. Your role required intense physical preparation. Can you walk us through your training and the process of getting into character physically? Mark nods, visibly calming. Yeah, that's something I can discuss. The training was intense, long hours in the gym, choreography for fight scenes, and diet discipline. It was about getting the body and mind ready. That part is straightforward and doesn't need sensationalizing. George smiles thinly, sensing the tension. Of course. And how about working with your director? Any challenges there? Mark shrugs lightly. Directors challenge you to push boundaries. That's normal. Every actor experiences it. I respect that. It's part of the craft. Nothing more dramatic than that. George presses, but carefully. I see. Some people online are saying you've been defensive in past interviews. Do you think this comes from wanting to protect yourself from misrepresentation? Mark leans back again, hands clasped. Exactly. There's so much misrepresentation in the media. You try to have an honest conversation, and suddenly it's spun into drama. That's why I'm firm here. I want to be clear. This is about the work, not the gossip. The audience reacts with a mix of nods and whispers. A few cameras pan to some viewers who look surprised at Mark's bluntness. George maintains his composure, but his voice shows a slight strain. All right, Mark, but some of these questions are fair. Your fans want insight into both your work and your perspective. Isn't there a way to give them that while maintaining boundaries? Mark leans forward, intensity building. Yes, and I am giving it. The insight is this: dedication, hard work, respect on set, and passion for what you do. Everything else, rumors, criticism, speculation, is noise. I'm not here to entertain drama for clicks or headlines. The audience murmurs again, some clapping lightly in support. George pauses, choosing his words. I understand, Mark. But I have to ask, you've had a few high-profile moments in your career where interviews didn't go smoothly. Do you think those incidents influenced the way hosts approach you now? Mark exhales, voice firm. Of course, when people expect confrontation, they frame questions to create it. But that's not what I signed up for today. I came to talk about the movie, the effort, the craft. That's all. Nothing else. The audience reacts audibly, the energy in the room shifting further. Some viewers clap, others murmur, and the hosts off-camera whisper among themselves. George leans forward, measured. All right, Mark. Let's pivot again. Let's focus on the release. How are you feeling about the audience's response? The first trailers have created quite a buzz. Mark's expression softens slightly. I'm excited. People have reacted positively so far. That's what counts. The effort and work that go into a film are what I want people to notice. That's rewarding. Everything else, the rumors, the gossip, doesn't matter in that context. George nods slowly. I hear you. But I have to be honest. Some viewers will want to know your personal experiences and challenges during filming. Is there anything you can share that feels authentic without crossing your boundaries? Mark considers this for a moment, then leans forward, tone controlled but firm. Yes. I can say this, every film challenges you. Every day on set tests you emotionally, mentally, and physically. And that struggle is what makes the work meaningful. That's the part one want the audience to focus on. The audience reacts with soft applause. George gives a tight smile, leaning back. That's fair, Mark. We appreciate the perspective, and I think our viewers will take that to heart. Mark nods, slightly relieved but still alert. Thanks, George. That's all I wanted to communicate. The rest is up to people to experience the movie themselves. The cameras pan across the audience as the segment nears the next commercial break. The tension lingers in the room. What began as a promotional interview has already turned into a conversation people will be dissecting online. The murmurs suggest viewers are split. Some admire Mark's candor, others are curious about what questions caused his sharp responses. As the lights dim for a brief pause, the audience claps politely. Mark exhales, leaning back, collecting his thoughts. The energy in the studio is electric. It's clear this interview has more layers to unfold when they return. The cameras come back from a commercial break, and the audience claps politely. George Stephanopoulos leans in with a measured smile. Welcome back, Mark. Let's dive a little deeper. Filming a movie like Edge of Shadows is intense. Were there moments on set that really pushed you emotionally? Mark leans forward, crossing his arms. Absolutely. Some scenes are physically and mentally draining. You have to give everything, not just show up. That's what people don't always see, the constant focus, the preparation, the energy you put in every single day. George nods. And what about on-set dynamics? I've heard there were a few disagreements with co-stars. Did that affect your work? Mark's jaw tightens. Disagreements happen on any set. That's normal. But some reports made it sound like chaos. It wasn't. It was professional debate, pushing each other to deliver the best performance. That's all. Audience murmurs softly, a few nodding. Whoopi Goldberg, sitting to the side, chimes in. Mark, it seems like you're frustrated with how the media portrays things. But we're here to have a real conversation, not make headlines. Mark's tone sharpens slightly. I get that, Whoopi. But the way questions are framed often feels designed to provoke. I'm happy to discuss the work, the process, and the story, but personal speculation? That's not the conversation I came for. A low murmur runs through the audience. George leans in carefully. Understood. But some viewers might feel like we're skirting around the tough questions. Isn't there a way to address them without compromising your boundaries? Mark exhales, voice firm. Just talk about the craft, the dedication, the preparation. That's the insight people want. Anything else, rumors, gossip, negativity, that's noise. Focus on the work, not the drama. The audience reacts audibly, soft claps and murmurs. George adjusts his papers. Alright, let's shift to your preparation. Physical training for the role was intense, correct? Can you describe that process? Mark relaxes slightly. Yes, that I can discuss. Hours of training, choreography for fight scenes, diet, and focus. It was exhausting but necessary. It's what creates an authentic performance. That's the part one want the audience to focus on. Sunny host, leaning in from the side, asks carefully, Mark, some say you come across as defensive in interviews. Is that because of how questions are framed? Mark leans back, crossing his arms. Exactly. Questions are often designed to get a reaction. People act surprised when I respond honestly. I'm here to discuss the movie, not feed drama. Audience murmurs again. A few whisper, intrigued by the tension. George tries to steer gently. Mark, viewers want honesty. Can you give them insight into your experience while staying within your boundaries? Mark leans forward, hands on his knees. Yes. Insight is this: hard work, respect on set, focus on craft, and passion for storytelling. That's it. Everything else is noise. I want people to remember the effort, not the gossip. Whoopi interjects, trying to ease the tension. Mark, we're not trying to provoke. But some questions are about understanding the person behind the performance. Isn't that fair? Mark nods, but his voice is firm. It's fair, but misrepresentation happens too easily. One small personal question becomes a headline. I'm here to talk about the work, the movie, and the process. That's all. The audience reacts audibly again, soft applause, murmurs. The energy in the studio is electric. This isn't just an interview anymore, it's a clash of perspectives. George leans forward carefully. Alright, Mark. Let's pivot. The emotional scenes, how did you prepare for those? Mark softens slightly. Mental focus, understanding the character's motivations, connecting with the story. Emotional preparation is exhausting, but it's part of creating a scene that resonates with viewers. Audience claps lightly. George smiles. And your co-stars, how did they impact your performance? Mark nods. They challenged me in the best way. Respect, energy, collaboration. That's what makes performances memorable. Whoopi leans in again. Mark, some online viewers are saying your tone today is intense. Is that your typical experience on live interviews? Mark glances at her, measured. Sometimes, yes. People expect confrontation and then comment when you respond honestly. I'm not here for drama. I'm here for the movie, the work, and the story. The audience murmurs softly, some nodding. George leans back, careful with his words. Mark, part of live TV is navigating tough questions. Can you share why you respond strongly sometimes? Mark exhales, calming slightly. Because questions are often designed to provoke. I respect conversation, but I won't entertain manufactured drama. The focus is the work, not the gossip. Audience reacts again with murmurs and soft applause. Cameras pan across the viewers, some leaning forward, others whispering. It's clear this interview will be remembered for its intensity. George leans back. Alright, Mark. Before we break, can you give viewers a final insight about the movie and your experience on set? Mark leans forward, tone calm but firm. Focus on the story, the effort, the performance. Respect your coworkers, give your all, and let the audience experience the work itself. That's the part worth talking about. The cameras cut to commercial. The audience claps politely, a mix of intrigue and admiration. Mark exhales quietly, leaning back. The tension is palpable. The clash may have subsided for now, but it's clear that the final segment will address the aftermath, audience reactions, and social media buzz. The cameras return after the second commercial break. The audience is buzzing, clearly anticipating what's next. George Stephanopoulos clears his throat, leaning forward. Welcome back, everyone. Mark, thank you for staying with us. We want to cover some lighter moments now, behind-the-scenes stories from filming Edge of Shadows. Are you willing to share a few? Mark sits forward, nodding, though his expression is still serious. Sure. But let's focus on stories from the set. Nothing personal, nothing speculative. That's what's meaningful for the audience. The audience reacts with polite applause. George smiles tightly. Of course. So, Mark, were there moments during filming that surprised you? Unexpected challenges? Mark leans back, thinking. Yeah. A lot of physical sequences were harder than anticipated. Stunts, timing, working with the crew. It's a lot to coordinate. But that's what makes filmmaking fascinating. Every day brings something new. Sunny host chimes in. And how about funny or memorable moments? Anything that kept the mood light on set? Mark relaxes slightly. Definitely. There were times when we had bloopers or missed cues, and the crew would laugh. Even in intense scenes, those moments remind you why you love making movies. That balance is important. Audience members chuckle softly, and a few nod in agreement. George leans in carefully, choosing his words. Mark, earlier we talked about criticism and rumors. Now that we're on set stories, how do you feel about the public's reaction to your candidness today? Mark exhales. I expect mixed reactions. Some viewers will appreciate the honesty and the focus on work. Others might misinterpret it as confrontational. That's part of being in the public eye. I can't control headlines, only how I respond here. Whoopi Goldberg interjects gently. Mark, your directness today was noticeable. Do you think this kind of transparency changes how people view you? Mark leans forward, voice firm but calm. It should. I want people to focus on dedication, discipline, and the craft. Not drama or gossip. Today is a chance to show that side. The audience reacts, soft claps and murmurs. George nods. We appreciate that perspective. But some viewers are active on social media right now. Tweets, comments, and posts are already reacting to your intensity. Have you seen any of that yet? Mark smirks slightly. I've seen a few. Some people support it, saying I'm honest. Others criticize, of course. That's normal. Social media can exaggerate things. But that doesn't change the fact that the conversation here should be about the work, the film, and the performance. A low murmur runs through the audience. A few cameras pan to excited viewers in the crowd, whispering about the heated moments from earlier in the interview. George leans back, attempting diplomacy. Mark, it's clear people are passionate about both the film and your candor. What would you like them to take away from this interview? Mark folds his hands, looking directly into the camera. Focus on the movie. Respect the crew. Appreciate the effort that goes into creating something meaningful. That's the takeaway. Everything else, speculation, gossip, negativity, is secondary. The audience claps warmly this time, a mixture of appreciation and curiosity. George nods, turning slightly to his co-hosts. And as we wrap up, Mark, do you have any final message for your fans? Mark leans forward, tone steady and deliberate. Just support the work, support storytelling, and experience it for yourself. Don't let rumors or headlines shape your opinion before seeing the movie. That's all I can ask. Whoopi smiles. Well said. I think everyone here can agree that dedication and honesty deserve recognition. The audience erupts into applause. Cameras pan across viewers, some cheering, others whispering excitedly. The energy is palpable. George glances at Mark. Thank you for joining us today and for giving such insight into your work, Mark. Mark nods, standing politely. Thank you for having me. I hope viewers take away what matters, the effort and craft behind the performance. As the cameras begin to fade out, the host addresses the audience directly. And for those watching at home, it's already clear this interview will be talked about for days. Social media is buzzing, and opinions are split. Make sure to share your thoughts below. Mark waves subtly to the audience as he exits the stage, maintaining professionalism despite the intensity of the conversation. The audience continues clapping, some standing, others whispering about the candid moments they witnessed. The energy in the studio is electric, a live interview that will undoubtedly trend online. Backstage, producers review the feed, noting which moments will likely get the most attention online. Clips of Mark's sharp responses and candid reflections are already trending on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube highlights. Fans debate, praising his honesty or critiquing his intensity, while media outlets speculate on the on-air clash angle. George turns to his co-hosts, whispering, "Well, that was intense, but I think viewers appreciated his perspective on the craft." Whoopi nods. "Definitely. And it's a reminder that celebrities have boundaries too. Respecting that makes a conversation authentic." The show ends, but the conversation continues online. Clips circulate rapidly, and hashtags related to the interview start trending. Fans express admiration for Mark's focus on work over gossip, while others replay moments of tension for commentary. The buzz ensures that both the movie and the interview itself will remain topics of discussion for days. Finally, the segment closes with a message from the hosts to the viewers. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Echo Scoop for more real talk show stories. What do you think about Mark Wahlberg's candidness today? Did he handle the tough questions well, or was it too intense? Let us know. The cameras fade to black, leaving viewers reflecting on the intensity, the honesty, and the drama of the interview. A rare glimpse into what happens when Hollywood meets live television and the stakes are high.